objectionable about what he's saying? Your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to say that shedding racial supremacy, caste supremacy, regional supremacy, religious supremacy is something that every citizen of the world needs to do. And particularly in India, where you have Sanatan Dharma, that is multiple paths towards the same goal, whether it is one path or the other path or a third path or a millionth path, they all have equal validity. And in that kind of a culture, any feeling of supremacy is completely wrong. See, the problem is, Shivani, that unfortunately, many people have got trapped in their own rhetoric, if I may say so, their own predictions. They have been predicting from 2014 onwards that India is on the cusp of a genocide,
Yes.
the brink of a genocide. Well, 2014 is about 8 years away, and till now, we haven't seen that cusp, that brink ever take place. In fact, if you look at the statistics, communal violence has declined since 2014 as compared to any comparable period in the past. So I'd only like to say that I don't believe that Dr. Mohan Bhagwat was making anything that is inflammatory. I think he was making some points which are in a very, if I may say so, in the direction of acknowledging that in the 21st century, all people, no matter what your region, your language, your religion, your lifestyle, your diet, you need to work together to build a strong economy. And if you don't have a strong economy, you're letting down everybody,
Okay.
the entire society.
To take your comment further, let me bring in Adil Hassan, who's from the AIMIM. Now, your party is one that has been extremely vocal against the statements that Mohan Bhagwat has made. Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi has also come out and made certain objections to his statement. But as I just showed Adil Hassan, it's natural you're opposing what Mohan Bhagwat is saying, because what he's saying attacks your politics. It is your leaders who continuously... Once again, let me finish. Adil Hassan, let me finish, then you respond. It is indeed your leaders who provoke Indian Muslims as if they are separate or different than the rest of India. Instead, it is RSS's Mohan Bhagwat who repeatedly says Hindus and Muslims are the same in India.
Yes, so who is Mohan Bhagwat to give lecture or give sermons on us? Who is he? Who is he if he is going to contest election in 2024? Who is he to dictate his terms? Why not he discuss on China? Why not he discuss on unemployment? Why not he talk about the human approach that people, hunger index? Why not he talk about that? Na koi ghusa hai, na koi ghusega. He's not talking to Prime Minister of the country. Why not talking about employment? He is nowhere to dictate the Indian Muslim, because we are by birth Indian, by choice Indian, and by the will of Allah, we are Indian and we are proud to be Indian.
So your objection is primarily
not in the freedom movement, and RSS was not involved in the freedom movement.
So but that doesn't matter to this debate. Don't bring the freedom movement into this.
Clear.
Let's debate the issue at hand.
Yes,
so you are saying, Adil Hassan, you are saying... Adil Hassan, one second. We don't need not talk over each other. Adil Hassan, we need not talk over each other. Listen to me, I will give you time. So you are saying that your objection is not to what he's saying, but your objection is that who is Mohan Bhagwat to say so. Is that right?
No. It is very clear. We don't need any sermon from Mr. Bhagwat because RSS role was nowhere in freedom struggle. RSS was nowhere from the last 8 years. Mohan Bhagwat never talks about mob lynching. He never talks about China entering.
He has talked about mob lynching. That's not true actually.
Yes,
RSS has been on record to shun those who lynch in the name of cow protection.
Why not Mohan Bhagwat talk about Sadhvi MP from Bhopal?
In fact, on the issue of Sadhvi Pragya's issue that you're bringing up happened only recently. But I may also add, Mohan Bhagwat has been on record to shun so-called Dharam Sansads as well. When a recent Dharam Sansad had been in headlines for raising provocative statements.
From Devashi on Uttarakhand Dharam Sansad, what action has been taken?
Yeah, action has been taken. People were arrested, FIRs were lodged. What other action do you want?
Where are the culprits?
But they were arrested. But there is a legal process, right? People cannot be hung just because your feelings have been offended.
No, no, it's not my. It's the Supreme Court intervening in the issue.
But there is a legal process.
Now only in the Shimoga, Karnataka, what Bhopal MP told, what process, what the law and order is doing in the state.
Arey, but
Why not he
bataiye
talk
na,
about
in
the
which
Home
case
Minister
was
that
action
to
not
who is
taken?
the safe passage to the minorities? Why not he talk about
No, but you are not coming to the debate I am having with you. The issue I am discussing with you is...
China? Why not he talk about China? Why not he talk about drugs coming from Pakistan?
But that's not what we are discussing
Why
today.
is
What
he
we are
always
discussing
creating
today is
enmity
not
between
China.
the
When we
same
discuss
citizen of the
China,
country?
you can contribute on the China debate.
No, why not? It
Similarly,
is also issue.
one can
It is-
also argue
he
who
wants
is
to become the
Asaduddin
father, he wants to become
Owaisi
the-
to
he-
comment on everything, day in
Yes,
and night on everything that happens in the
yes,
country.
He is the law-abiding citizen of the country. He is the
So
honorable
is
member
Mohan
of parliament
Bhagwat is
from
not?
the Hyderabad.
Is he
has
not a
all equal right
citizen
to
of this
say on
country?
everything, every issue.
So is
Yes,
Mohan
he-
Bhagwat any
he
lesser
has
than
every
Asaduddin
right to
Owaisi?
talk, every right to say. He has got those. We don't want lecture.
No, that's fine. To
we don't
say
want
that
any
we
lecture
don't
from
want
Mr.
these
Bhagwat.
sermons from Mohan
Ask
Bhagwat
Mr.
is
Bhagwat
fine.
to give
But
sermon to
don't
Mr. Modi
deviate the
that
debate.
why
Talk
China
on
is
the
entering in our
subject.
territory. Ask him to talk about price rise. Ask about the unemployment.
I don't understand how is that talking on the subject.
Why
You
not?
talk
Why
on
not he
price
talk
rise
about
in China when we
unemployment?
talk
Why
on
not he
price
talk
rise
about
in
drugs coming
China.
from Pakistan?
You cannot dictate these terms to anyone. He will comment on
No,
what he's
always-
commenting on.
he
And I
always
think his
knows-
position on
he
why we are
always-
discussing his
he
comment is
always
quite
bringing
clear.
Vasudev
He
Kutumbakam.
is
Where is
the
your
head
Vasudev
of the
Kutumbakam?
biggest
Why
Hindu
Sardar
organization in the country.
Why Sardar
Naturally, his
Patel
comments
why Sir-
in the context of
No, no,
religious
you are wrong.
conflict
No,
or
no,
strife
no,
in
no.
India are
Nobody
discussed.
gave him certificate.
Adil
No,
Hassan,
no.
you mustn't
Shivani,
speak over
you
me.
are wrong. Nobody gave him certificate.
Okay, fine, but
Nobody
please
gave
don't
him
speak over
certificate.
me. Adil
RSS is
Hassan,
not
please
the-
speak
RSS is
when
not
I'm
the
asking
elected.
you a
No,
question.
RSS is not the elected organization. No, no, no.
Okay,
Shivani,
Adil
you have to
Hassan,
listen
I'll
me.
have to mute you.
You
I'm
have to
requesting
listen
you.
me.
Please don't speak
RSS
over
is
me.
not the elected organization.
That doesn't mean
You
he
have to
doesn't
give
have a
me
right to speak, elected or otherwise. I am also not elected. I have a certain right. आप भी elected नहीं है. इसका मतलब नहीं है आप
You
टीवी
have
पे
right
आके
because channel,
अपना
you are
बयान नहीं
working
दे
in
सकते.
channel. You have all the right to speak.
Let me bring in
नहीं तो
Sushant.
आप-
1 second.
आप भी
No, not
मोहन
like
भागवत
this.
जी की
Adil
तरफ से
Hassan, I
वकालत नहीं
cannot
कर सकती।
argue with you ad nauseum. Please, there's a way to debate.
Yes, I know. I don't need teaching from you also.
But
You
then
have to
I'm
listen me if
requesting you
call
for
me the
5 minutes.
debate.
Please listen to my question and respond. Don't talk again and again
Yes,
over
yes.
me.
Okay. You tell. Okay.
Let me bring in Aarti Agarwal. Aarti Agarwal, there are several points at which the RSS has been very consistent over what it believes Hindu Rashtra, Hinduism, Hindutva means. I have outlined that at the start of the show. This message from Mohan Bhagwat is a little bit different. I believe it's a little bit sterner, not the outreach he's been making in recent times. And no wonder there is outrage over his message, because he's kind of doing a little bit of plain speak. That listen, if you want peace and brotherhood in India, then we cannot also have narratives that somehow Muslims who have ruled at one time will rule again. That obviously will not go in a pluralistic country. And in a pluralistic country, you also cannot fundamentally have this assertion that my faith is the only faith or my faith is better or the best. That is the fundamental conflict in India.
Right. So I think Mohan Das Bhagwat ji has spoken very plainly this time, and at least in my opinion, he has been very soft earlier, because we've seen over and over again that Hindus are facing a whole lot of backlash, a whole lot of aggression, a whole lot of violence in many parts of the country. And all of that is eventually rooted in this idea of supremacy which a lot of Muslims have. And the whole concept of kafir, we are called kafirs. If there is no such thing as Abrahamic supremacy in the Islamic fold, then why are we called kafirs? Why can't we just get rid of that term itself? So, I think what he has said is very relevant and is very pertinent and it's very timely, because it's time that the Sangh started acknowledging these things openly. And he has absolutely not sermoned anybody. I think what he has said is a very kind statement, saying that, the Muslims should abandon this kind of supremacy. No civilized culture can exist with where one part of the population actually carries an attitude of, oh, we should be ruling over the other half, that kind of a thing. We are
Okay.
a secular country after all, with some laws, with some regulations. So if Owaisi can go around making all sorts of statements which are very inflammatory, which stoke a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of violence in people, then I think compared with that, what Bhagwat ji has said is very, very mild. And it's
Okay.
very reasonable what he has said,
No,
because
but
this
but the
supremacy,
criticism is,
Islamic
Aarti, the
supremacy.
criticism is that there are several in the majority fold who also make provocative statements, who also display an element of supremacy by suggesting that this land belongs to Hindus first.
So, see, we cannot compare an apple and an orange. I mean, you have to weigh things in the balance. Because others are making this kind of a statement doesn't mean Mohan Bhagwat ji's statement automatically becomes wrong. The fact that when we talk about history, historically Hindus lived here in this land first before any other foreign invader came here. That's just a historic fact. That's not some idea of supremacy. But at the same time, Hindus are not asking Muslims to leave. Hindus are not saying that we will not let you live peacefully. There is no such kind of a fear psychosis anywhere in the narrative, even in the so-called extremist elements. Stating a historic or geographic fact does not make somebody an extremist.
Okay.
That said, their statements and Mohan Bhagwat's statements are two completely different statements. So I don't think Mohan Bhagwat ji is out of line over here. In fact, I think Mohan Bhagwat ji has faced a whole lot of flack from the Hindu Samaj, from many different sections, for being too mild in the past.
No, I established
personally
exactly
think
that.
he's
I'm aware
force-pressing
of
now.
that. In the last few years, for example, Mohan Bhagwat has been making even statements like our DNA is the same, which
Same
was
DNA.
also
Yeah, I
trashed by
disagree
some.
with that. We don't have the same DNA, but that doesn't mean we have to have supremacy of,
Yeah.
one has bigger right over than the other. I don't
That
agree
brings
with
me
that.
to my other
So,
question, and I'll take that to our Congress representative. Mahima, fundamentally what has also happened in India is that concessions have been asked of the majority community. The burden of peace has been put on the majority community in India. Famously, Manmohan Singh had said that the first right to India's resources is with the minorities of India. Now, that also does not go. I think what he has also referred to, what I think his message also is, that if you ask for concessions from the majority community, concessions must also come from the minorities in India, where they must also shun certain narratives, otherwise peace is not achievable. Don't you agree with that?
Good evening, Shivani. Good evening, all. See, this country is run by a constitution. There's a governance of constitution in this country, and that is what Mr. Bhagwat needs to be reminded of. And in spite of the reminder, he might yet go on to step upon, the constitutional provisions, because they do look down on the constitution. It is not an unknown fact that the RSS has always maintained a stance against the constitution. And so what he has said today is in line with their narrative very much. He is
So what do
doing
you object to in what he has said?
he is doing two things. He is almost threatening those who may not fall in line, and he is laying out a sort of a validation for the existence of the minorities in this country who have constitutional guarantees. And that is exactly the Bharat Jodo Yatra is, antithesis to this narrative is exactly what the Bharat Jodo Yatra is.
But Mahima, won't you
achieved.
concede that it is unfair on the majorities of this country to always be laden with the burden of peace, while we have what we have had from the minority side too? Aggression comes from both sides. You cannot ask that one side should concede its way of life. For example, the very simple issue of cow protection. Now, cow protection, you would not argue, comes from the RSS alone. Mahatma Gandhi was the biggest votary of cow protection. But when you oppose cow protection in a land like India, you're asking of concessions from Hindus, but why are similar concessions not asked of the minority community? Peace must flow from both sides.
To say that, Shivani, would also be to say that the constitution is unfair, which guarantees equality
Some
to
things
the
are
minority.
constitutional, Mahima, but some things are communal. By communal, I mean of community. They come from community. We can't be governed by laws and courts in everything that we do in our life.
But fortunately, this country is governed by the Constitution, Shivani, which ensures
Constitution
that
also talks of the UCC. It is very easy to talk about some things of the Constitution and neglect it at other times.
I will appreciate if you let me complete
Go
my
ahead.
thought.
Go ahead.
I am going to say that the Constitution ensures that those standing the last in the line are included and are not left out, and that is exactly what Mahatma Gandhi's vision was. And Mahatma Gandhi was the one who was assassinated by the torchbearers of the RSS also at those times. So it is only in line with the killing of Mahatma. The narrative that the RSS is bringing about today is only in line with that. It is the same ideology.
Okay.
You still don't see a tricolor in the background of the RSS chief when he talks today, because they want to step upon the tricolor, step upon the constitution of this country. And let me just remind by this platform of yours that no Indian needs anybody's validation to stay
That's fair
set.
enough. I think we don't disagree on that. Nobody needs anybody's validation. But my fundamental point is, I'll go across to Sushant Sareen, that, I don't like to pretend that we do not have conflict in India, because anybody who's grown up in India for 30, 35, 40 years will know there are real issues on ground. And if somebody is addressing those issues, we must debate them. We must not act like there's no need to talk about these issues. But leaving that aside, Sushant Sareen, naturally, the statements that have been made by Mohan Bhagwat will not go down well, because look at what he's doing. And I think this is a fundamental shift in what the RSS's message has been. I think for the first time in many years, he has said in as many words that Hindus have been at war, a war not of their choosing, and not a war that they are waging, but a war that has been waged on them for 1,000 years. And it's only natural that there is an element of aggression that has creeped into them. How do you look at that statement?
Yeah, Shivani, a couple of points. Number one, what Mr. Bhagwat was doing was not giving a sermon, he was giving an interview. Yeah, as a citizen of the country, he's perfectly entitled to do it. People are perfectly entitled to give their own comments to it. Number one. Number two, I don't remember what role the AIMIM played in the independence movement of this country. In fact, whatever their precursor role played was the Razakars of Hyderabad and the massacres which they carried out. So I don't even want to go down that road, but it's rather rich coming from these guys when they talk about role during the independence movement, as though only one particular section played a role. Everybody else was irrelevant. Number three, I wish people had also focused on certain other elements of Mr. Bhagwat's interview and some very progressive ideas which he threw up, including on the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
Right? I haven't heard any religious leader, community leader, or even a politician speak in such enlightened manner on this particular issue. So kudos to him. Of course, I have complete disagreement on his take on economics. I think it's a little loopy. And this is a standard, procedure for most people with a socialistic baggage to talk about consumerism. And I don't know what exactly they mean by it. But then to come back to your fundamental question. Look, I don't, and I will disagree with you out here. I don't see any fundamental contradiction between what Mr. Bhagwat has been saying earlier and what he has said in this particular interview. In fact, I think it is a continuum of what he has been saying. Only thing what he has done in this particular interview is that he's pointed out to certain areas where tensions emanate from. When you have, and frankly, when he talks about supremacism, that and the kind of supremacism he talks about, it's not limited only to Islam. It's something which is there in all Abrahamic religions. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
That's a fundamental reality of all these faiths, right? If you don't believe, and look at the way, you remember that particular during the Bharat Jodo Yatra, since the lady from Congress was mentioning it, there was a Christian priest and what he told Mr. Rahul Gandhi about fake gods and stuff like that. Isn't that supremacism? Is that acceptable to the Congress party? Do they think this is perfectly valid in a country which is populated by Hindus, a majority population of Hindus? Do you think this is the language of peace? This is the language that should be spoken about? What that Tamil priest told Mr. Gandhi? It's the same thing which Mr. Bhagwat is pointing out, only in this particular case he's talking about the Muslims, right? And for most Muslims to pretend that they were the conquerors and they were the rulers, most of them are converts from Indic faiths, right? these were the people who were the most oppressed. These were the people who converted because to save their lives, right? Or for certain loaves and benefits which the conquerors were giving. These were not conquerors, okay? For them to pretend that, again, rather rich of them to do that. But I think these are issues which need to be spoken about. These are issues which need to be debated. And we don't have to get into a funk every time somebody talks about it. We don't need to, start outraging.
Yeah,
we can have a normal civilized debate on
exactly.
these issues.
We can be mature about it and just discuss what is the reality in the country. Atikur Rahman has not spoken. Atikur Rahman, when Mohan Bhagwat says, that Muslims need to shun this supremacist attitude, don't you think that actually the ones who further that supremacy for their political agendas or for any other agendas are the ones who are incensed? Exactly the people who keep this Hindu-Muslim binary in India alive by saying कि 250 हैं और 25 करोड़ हैं, 100 करोड़ पे भारी हैं, ये सब जो बयान देते हैं उन्हीं को ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम हो रही है मोहन भागवत के स्टेटमेंट से. नेचुरल है ना?
Shivani, I would like to restrict myself to the Islamic point of view, what the RSS chief said, rather than going political. With regards to the RSS chief, he is ill-informed. If I want to seek knowledge of Hinduism, I would rather go to the writings of Swami Vivekanand, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, or Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, rather than going to AIM or people like Hafiz Saeed. Since the beginning of the RSS inception, they are towing this line of the other people, Christians and Muslims, will be taking over Hinduism if we are not, equipping the Hindu idea. So that's a different story. As far as supremacy of Islam is concerned, Shivani, Dr. Rafiq Zakaria writes in his book, The Widening Divide, the question of superiority of one religion over another does not arise because the message of God is the same for all people at all times. That is why Muslims resent their religion to be called Mohammedanism. It is Islam which is the eternal religion. What Dr. Abul Kalam Azad writes, the Jews used to assert that so long as one was not a member of the Jewish fold, there is no salvation. Likewise, Christians say that there is no salvation for the other fold. What does the Quran say, Shivani? The Quran asserts that salvation rests entirely on devotion to God and righteous living, and not on the adherence of any particular group. So why does the RSS and the RSS chief echoes the line of the hardliner Muslims?
Yeah, he's obviously targeting the hardliners only. I don't think it is anyone's argument that most Muslims believe in this. He is indeed targeting the hardliners. And that's what I'm saying. And those quote-unquote hardliners are the ones who have a problem with this statement.
No. Then it comes to what the Congress spokesperson said. Constitutionalism is our final book of law. Since 1947, the Hindus and Muslims shall be guided by the Constitution of India.
But we've seen in India several Muslim clerics even shunning the Constitution aside. I mean, you look at the statements on the Ram temple, it has come from the courts.
Done by the other
likes of Owaisi shun those decisions. He still today does not accept that decision, which is right. I personally feel it's his right to not accept or not like the Supreme Court judgment either.
So the argument goes that both side hardliners should be curbed. It is not the Islam says we are superior. Islam does not mention that its religion is superior. Islam does not mention to kill the other.
Okay.
So have a clarity, remove the ambiguity.
But that also has to come from the community alone. There's a little bit of a dichotomy. When you talk about these Muslims issues, then you say there is a dichotomy in the sense that the moment you talk about a Muslim issue, we are often told, don't talk about this. This is our community issue. We will handle it. This happened during the instant triple talaq debate, for example. And then when we don't talk about it, then we are told that, no, but why not look at these issues? So the two can't go. Anyways, I've run out of time. I'll give a final 30 seconds to Professor Nalapad also once again. Professor Nalapad, what according to you is the way forward? Or is this the ever continuing fight, which is more politics than anything else, that will continue, whether it is Mr. Bhagwat's statements and the opposition to it? Fundamentally, for Hindus and Muslims, what's the way forward? So very quickly.
Shivani, I'd like to point out that if you forget history, you repeat history.
Yeah.
Now, if you say that only Hindus can talk about Hindus, Muslims about Muslims, you're going back to separate electorates, which was the beginning of what resulted in a partition. Now, what is happening? You've got some parliamentarians, misguided individuals in London, US, some other countries giving sermons to India on this imaginary genocide. And they are completely forgetting about an actual genocide that took place in that 1/3 of India that was partitioned forcibly in 1947, and where the Hindu population has now less than 1% when it was nearly 35%. So my point is very simple. My point is every Hindu has the task of making sure that every human being is a tolerant person. My friend Atikur Rahman is perfectly right. The Holy Quran never says any distinction between Muslims and non-Muslims. But the fact is, Muslims must join the Hindus. For example, condemn what is happening in Pakistan, condemn what has happened in Afghanistan, condemn what is going on in Bangladesh, because nobody is safe if any faith is unsafe anywhere.
Okay, fair enough. In fact, you made a good point. I just want to add on to that. This whole narrative that Muslims are being killed in India, that there is a genocide of Muslims in India, I'm sorry to say, if you participate in that narrative as an Indian, then you are not doing any favors to India. Then you are keeping your faith or your politics above India, and that is a problem, and that will be a problem. So no, anybody who participates in that narrative cannot then lecture anybody else about brotherhood and peace, because that narrative is not about peace and unity. I'll leave it at that. I do thank our guests for joining us. Mahima will continue with us because we're moving on to our next big story. As Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra enters its Punjab leg, the BJP launched a rather scathing attack on the Congress leader. This because Rahul Gandhi visited Golden Temple in Punjab. He was also seen donning a turban, and he said that this yatra that he is on should raise the biggest issues of India, such as hatred, violence, unemployment and inflation, and fight against these issues. The BJP made the hypocrisy chodo jive on Rahul, saying Congress has given patronage and protection to the likes of Jagdish Titler, Kamal Nath and Sajjan Kumar, the very people linked to anti-Sikh massacre of 1984. So is there indeed a hypocrisy involved as far as the message of Bharat Jodo Yatra is concerned, and what the Congress has actually done when it comes to its own people linked to a 1984 anti-Sikh program? Look at what Rahul Gandhi has done. He has visited the Golden Temple before the Punjab leg. What did his party do? Just last month, it appointed 1984 Sikh riots accused Jagdish Titler as part of the Delhi poll panel. What does Rahul Gandhi do? He accepted once that congressmen indeed had a role in the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. Later, he seems to go back on that. What is it that his party did? It made Kamal Nath the Madhya Pradesh chief minister, despite widespread comments and statements against Kamal Nath for his role during the program. What does Rahul Gandhi say and do? He says, raise your voice against violence and hatred. What did his party do? Remember, for more than 30 years, the victims of 1984 massacre did not get justice. Did the Congress party do anything to expedite their fight? So the big question we ask today, Rahul Gandhi's visit to the Golden Temple, is this indeed a message of unity as part of his Bharat Jodo Yatra, or mere lip service?
हमने सोचा था कि देश को एक दूसरा रास्ता भी दिखाना चाहिए, मोहब्बत का, एकता का, भाईचारे का, और इसीलिए हमने ये यात्रा शुरू की.
Rahul Gandhi ji, leave Bharat Jodo and start a hypocrisy chodo abhiyan. On the one hand, you visit Golden Temple, Fatehgarh Sahib Gurudwara. On the other hand, the Congress party extends a hand of patronage and protection to Jagdish Titler, to Kamal Nath, to Sajjan Kumar.
Mahima Singh of the Congress party stays with us. RP Singh of the BJP is now joining us. RP Singh, is it almost not becoming a routine fashion from the BJP that anything Rahul Gandhi does, anything happens during the Bharat Jodo Yatra, you attack it? You've almost got a fixation on the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Now, Rahul Gandhi visits the Golden Temple or a Gurdwara, even that is a problem.
Well, Shivani, do you think massacre of 30,000 Sikhs from Punjab to Delhi is anything? 25,000 were killed in Punjab. We don't know where they are. They are missing still on records. And more than 5,000 were killed in Delhi and surrounding areas. Is anything? And who did that? Mr. Sanjay Gandhi, Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. And it's not me who's saying so. It's the raw officer at that time, Mr. GBS Sidhu, in his book Khalistan Conspiracy, has categorically mentioned that it was part of conspiracy, Operation 1, Operation 2. Operation 1 was led by Sanjay Gandhi, later on by Rajiv Gandhi, in which what happened in Punjab happened, and where 25,000 Sikhs were killed in the rural areas, in the village side, and also the Operation Bluestar. And thereafter, what happened? That was part of Operation 2. Coincidentally, Mrs. Gandhi died in between. Had it not happened, this is not me again saying this, GBS Sidhu, the raw officer, that time. Yes, and he said that Mrs. Gandhi died. Had she not died, even then, the massacre of Sikhs would have happened.
No, but...
And Mr. Rahul Gandhi was there in Golden Temple. Give me another second. Mr. Rahul Gandhi was there in Golden Temple. Golden Temple is open to all. I mean, it has 4 doors, is open to all. Everyone can come and visit there. But outside Golden Temple, in that complex, is Akal Takht Sahib, which was demolished by Mrs. Gandhi, a planned thing. He could have gone there and seeked apologies. That is seen as the temporal seat of God. He had gone there and seek apologies. Maharaja Ranjit Singh seeked apologies and was given some penalty or was penalized by the Jathedar Akal Takht and those other Jathedars put together, 5 Jathedars put together.
Okay,
he could have seeked apology for his grandmother, for his chacha, for his give me a second, for his father. And I'm saying so because Mr. Rajiv Gandhi on record said, जब बड़ा पेड़ गिरता है तो धरती हिलती है.
No, fair enough. So your central objection is that you should have at least asked for an apology or done some penance for your actions against the Sikh community before you go to Golden Temple. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, Mahima Singh, please respond to that. Who is the Congress to give sermons on unity when you have blood on your hands?
Kshamavirasya Bhushanam, Shivani, is something that my leader has always practiced. He is a man of integrity, a man of truth, a man of honesty, who has always maintained that, what is wrong is wrong. And it's always said 2 wrongs don't make a right together. 2 prime ministers of this country were assassinated. One happened to be his grandmother, one happened to be his father, and both the assassinations are connected. Let me also say that, let me ask a question, that is it not enough for a young man to see his father being blown into pieces? And he still has to answer, as a result of 1984, he has seen his father being blown into pieces. And on top of that, he has forgiven the murderers of his father. They were released earlier last year.
But what does that have to do with what we're debating? No, I'm sorry. Please don't deflect it to some sympathy garnering exercise for Rahul Gandhi. Let's stick on the subject. Rahul Gandhi once famously said that yes, probably some congressmen were connected to 1984. That he said in 2014. By 2018, he went back on it and said no, Congress was not involved. What is it that the Congress has done? This is a legitimate question. When you were in power and even after that, to get those from 1984 any justice. Till Congress was in power, they got no justice. That's the truth for 30 years.
Shivani, Rahul Gandhi ji Shivani, Rahul Gandhi ji has, as a part of the yatra, has gone to multiple temples, multiple gurudwaras, and going to the Golden Temple before starting his Punjab leg is only keeping that ritual alive that we have been doing.
But is this mere lip service? Are you living the message of unity?
Not at all. Not at all. We at least talk about the wrongs that the Congress may have done inadvertently, unintentionally. Does the BJP talk of Godhara today
The
after so
BJP
many
has no role to play in it. No, no, forget the BJP. What
you
the
may have
Congress did is the Congress's responsibility.
no,
Like you said, two wrongs don't make a right. So
it
talking
is not
about BJP doesn't absolve the Congress party. The
it
legitimate
is
question today is, Mahima, what is it the Congress party did post 1984 for its role, for its partyman's role? You made Kamal Nath the chief minister well after it, 30 years after it.
Shivani, is it only for the Congress to answer? I always ask
In
you
this
this
case,
question.
it is for the Congress to answer because the Congress is also giving messages of unity and brotherhood and peace.
See, today when we are marching against hatred, today when we are marching against the divisive politics of the BJP, and in pursuit of that, we are visiting. If we don't visit Gurudwaras, you say you only visit temples, soft Hindutva narrative is being built. Today, when we are visiting, you are bringing this, these points to sabotage your own narrative because what Rahul Gandhi ji is doing today, he's been doing from Kanyakumari. He's been visiting every mutt, every temple, every religious point that has
That's
come
fair
on his
enough.
way.
But what did the party do when it was in power? On its own people, for their role in a pogrom against the Sikhs. Anyways, let me give the final 1 minute to RP Singh. RP Singh, is it also fair to bring 1984 into any discussion? Every time a Congress leader, whether it's Rahul Gandhi or somebody else, goes to a Gurdwara, is that fair to do?
Shivani, she was crying for victim. She was crying, playing a victim card and crying for Rahul Gandhi. Oh, he lost his father, he lost his grandmother. Let me reiterate, Mrs. Gandhi's death was coincidental. 84 was pre-planned. 84 Delhi massacre was pre-planned, and it would have happened otherwise also had Mrs. Gandhi lived. One, and I'm quoting from the book again. Again, second thing, Titler was part of this Bharat Jodo Yatra just recently. I mean, he was called as a special member to help and guide them. And then who is talking? Titler was one who said, I was roaming with Mr. Rajiv Gandhi on the roads of Delhi to check how many Sikhs have been killed. It's in the sting operation of Mr. Titler, which is there on YouTube. You can check and see that. So, what Congress have done to penalize all such people who massacred, who killed, who were part of the planning of the Sikh killing. And Rajiv, I'm saying on record, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi were part of it. And they were the one who planned the complete pogrom. Only for 1985 election, they thought we'll pitch the Hindus versus Sikhs, and they painted the most nationalist community in the country as anti-national for their electoral gain, for their petty electoral gain.
I've run out of time.
Suffered. As Sikhs, we suffered.
No, I've run out of time. Let the public debate. Let the public decide if this is indeed a message of unity that will sink in, or is it just a photo op and mere lip service when messages of unity and peace and togetherness are given. I've run out of time. I do have some breaking updates now coming in. So the bail plea of Shankar Mishra, who's the accused in the Air India P-Gate row, came up for hearing today, and the Delhi court has rejected his bail plea. In fact, the court has gone on to say the alleged act of relieving himself upon the complainant is utterly disgusting and repulsive. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar is joining us. Ananya, tell us more of what Mr. Mishra argued for, and what did the court say while refusing his bail plea?
Well, Shivani, first of all, the court has now denied a bail to Shankar Mishra in this particular case. It is clearly noted that the act of Shankar Mishra to actually relieve himself on the particular women who he did not know earlier is something that makes out outraging of a modesty of a woman charged against him. It also says that this egregious act has shocked the public's conscience and needs to be, in fact, corrected. And that's the reason why a bail should be denied to him. In fact, the court has also noted that his alleged act of itself makes outrage of a modesty charge against him. In fact, also going on to say that because the investigation is at a nascent stage, and noting the fact that Shankar Mishra did not join the investigation voluntarily but was arrested from Bengaluru after a non-bailable warrant was issued against him, his the reasons why a bail has been denied to Shankar Mishra in this particular case.
Okay.
Now, what has been argued by Shankar Mishra's lawyer before the court was that a 354 charge is not made out against him because he was not looking at the woman with the lustful intent. Is what was the argument before the court. It was also said that his arrest was in violation of the Arnesh Kumar judgment and the Satyendra Kumar judgment, Satyendra Kumar until judgment of the Supreme Court, and all.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Clearly, the arguments made by the accused lawyers did not cut ice with the court, and his bail plea has been denied. Time for me to slip into a very short break, but stay with us. On the other side, we'll get to you all the highlights as RRR roars at the Golden Globe. Natu Natu, the song winning the best original song at the global platform, sending waves of joy back home in India as well.
Huge concentration of flights which are still in air, which are still airborne in this space. How do they land? Because the landing mechanism is there, but the air missions or the no-time functionary which talks about the risks is not functioning. But can the air traffic control at these places manually override these systems and direct the pilots and show them a path from where they can land? How is this possible? Because this concentration of aircrafts here is a huge hazard, because not all these flights are going to carry a payload or a fuel that is going to keep them airborne for more than an hour, hour and a half.
Of course, and that is going to be a very dangerous situation. And also, as of now, what we learned that there have been some hotline that has been established, whether or not pilots will be able to land manually or getting connected through those hotlines with their nearest air traffic control. That we are not very much sure about. But yeah, situation is very much dangerous, and how long or how many hours this situation will continue, that will decide whether these planes that we currently see on our screens flying or somewhere in the midair, will they remain in the midway, or whether they will get an opportunity to land on their destination or some nearby destination, maybe across USA, maybe in the nearby country like Canada, or maybe somewhere in Mexico.
Well, this is what the latest update is that is now coming through, and we are now getting the FAA is working to restore its notice to air mission system. That's the latest statement. We are performing final validation checks and reloading the system now. So looks like the technical glitch has now been sorted. They are reloading the system. Operations across national airspace system are affected. We will provide frequent updates as we progress. So reloading the system is also not going to be a small job. It's not something that will happen in 2 minutes. It's going to take some time.
But as you were mentioning earlier, like how many hours of fuel a flight actually stores in itself. So probably maybe a couple of hours, if the situation gets restored, maybe the dangerousness of the situation can be limited. But if it continues for like maybe a couple of hours, maybe 4-6 hours, we don't know how many flights or how many long route flights are there which are still in air and which can actually cope up with that time of endurance in terms of fuel supply.
Well, this is the Federal Aviation Administration has confirmed that the United States notice to air mission system has failed.
All right, there's some latest news coming in. Let's go to that. All flights across the US have been grounded. That's the latest news that we're getting right now. And this is due to a glitch with the Federal Aviation Administration computer system. The US media has reported, but this is a big development, that all flights across the United States of America have been grounded due to a glitch with the Federal Aviation system. Our US media has put out this information. What exactly are the factors for how long this glitch may last, and what are the further details? We'll try and connect with my colleagues and get more information on this. But for now, the information that is coming in is that all flights have been grounded due to a glitch with the Federal Aviation computer system. Whether it's a security alert or it's only a technical fault, all of those details are awaited. But to be grounded in this manner due to a technical glitch, of course, is a big disruption in the aviation sector in US, of course, which is one of the biggest carriers when it comes to passenger operation. But US flights, all US flights have been grounded. My colleague Abhishek with us on the broadcast to give us more details. Abhishek, over to you. Give us more details.
There has been some major technical glitch in the US aviation, which actually issues those no-time certification or no-time guidelines as per which any flight direction or any routes is decided, and it looks like there has been some technical error in that issuance, which has resulted almost all US flights to be grounded. As of now, if we can see some graphical detailing that that tells the number of flights that are already in operation. There are some flights which are already in operation, which have already taken off, but those who were about to take off, they have been grounded. So it's a very chaotic situation and kind of very unprecedented, because one of the largest aviation routes are in USA. They are most busiest, and there are various interprovincial flights, and there are international flights that are coming to USA, and in that sense this is going to be very chaotic. The first technical error was reported on 10th of January, and it was tried to be fixed, but now it looks like the authorities have been unable to fix that. The situation is very alarming, because now
it's an alarming situation, as Abhishek Jha is pointing out. I want to cut across to my colleague Anand Narasimhan as well, who will give us more graphic details about what exactly is the situation in the US airspace right now. Anand, over to you. Tell us more.
Well, thanks for that. Now, this is the current concentration of flights all over the United States. The website has suddenly got huge amount of traffic. This is Flight Radar 24 that we're looking at, and everybody is accessing it, so that's why it's also not uploading. But what you can see is this is the concentration of flights all over the United States. Now, if NOTAM is not working, these flights, how are they going to land safely is a big question mark, and that's the reason why, for security basis, all flights so far have been grounded by the FAA. We are given to understand that there are nearly 400 flights that stand affected. That's the information that we've got. And hundreds of these flights now standing grounded. 400 flights being delayed. The concentration, the air concentration of aircrafts over the United States largely concentrated towards the eastern side, because most of the flights land towards New York and DC. Now you see the concentration increasing, and this is the total number of flights over the United States. Now you see the total number of flights that are focused around New York and DC in this region, and the number of flights that are now stranded or wanting to land.
Goes to Natu Natu. Taylor Swift, Rihanna and Lady Gaga had to go home empty-handed because RRR has created history by bagging the Golden Globe for Best Original Song for Natu Natu at the 80th Golden Globe Awards. The viral sensation won over Taylor Swift's Carolina and Lady Gaga's Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, among others nominated. Sung by Rahul Sipligunj and Kala Bhairava, this song was composed by M.M. Keeravani, who was present at the awards, along with the RRR trio.
This award belongs to, in order of priority, my brother and the director of the movie, S.S. Rajamouli, Mr. Prem Rakshit, and Mr. Chandra Bose for his wonderful words as a lyricist, Mr. Rahul Sipligunj, along with Kala Bhairava, who rendered the song with high energy.
Rihanna, who was also nominated in the same category, stopped by the RRR table to congratulate the winners graciously. Natu Natu's success is in equal parts to the catchy tune and also because of the vibrant energy of Ram Charan and Junior NTR, who gave it their all to be in sync with the instructions of tough taskmaster S.S. Rajamouli.
I've been looking at those legs. Look at that. I feel even the trousers are doing the same thing.
I think they were made, you were made 18 takes, 20 takes?
Yeah, similar. No, we even stopped counting takes. It was hours.
Okay, you just stopped.
It was hours. Because that's, yeah, you see that perfection there?
Did you shot in Ukraine? You had time to enjoy the city? You had time
to enjoy Ukraine? No, we didn't. We started at 8 in the morning.
Ended at 8 in the night.
At 8 in the night, and Ukraine shuts by 7:55.
A.R. Rahman, Shah Rukh Khan, Chiranjeevi, Alia Bhatt and Kareena Kapoor Khan were some of the early birds to congratulate the team. RRR was also competing in the Best Non-English Film category but lost out to Argentina 1985. But there's no doubt that the film is fast on its way to becoming a household name with the RRR craze gripping Hollywood.
जान से भी प्यारी तुम्हारी दोस्ती तो हमेशा होगी. खुशी खुशी कुर्बान हो जाऊंगा.
I love its friendship, I love its heart, I love what it says about fighting for what's right.
J.J. Abrams has called the film a fever dream while presenting it, and previously Jason Blum, the Russo brothers and Jessica Chastain are a few who showered love on the audacious film.
I have no words to explain for all the hard work the whole team put it, and coming from India, in south of India, and coming to the land of films, the mecca of films, and being appreciated, and it just gives us more energy to come back and do better films. The world is coming together, the cinema is coming together.
First of all, it humbles me that I get love from so many people who think great things about me and my film. I think I can just be humbled by that love.
With the Golden Globes being an important precursor to the Oscars, RRR and Team India are gearing up for more wins this award season.
Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you would agree if I were to say that respect is a two-way street. Some adara, everybody needs to respect everyone. This is something that Ram Madhav ji spoke about when we had the conversation around Mohan Bhagwat ji's interview. We'll play out that conversation in the latter half of this edition of The Right Stand. But spare a thought and park this in your head, at the back of your head. When we try and, analyze threadbare, this supremacy attitude, boisterous supremacy attitude, which has caused a huge political furor. There are entities or people who are turning around and saying, who are you to say something like that? But is this attitude a reality? And can this attitude prevail? Because Mohan Bhagwat doesn't talk about a boisterous supremacy attitude which he believes Muslims need to shun in India for pluralism to exist and for some adara or respect for all to exist. He also says that alternative thought streams like communists, even Hindus, anybody has to shed this supremacy attitude that I am better than you, I am superior to you, you are inferior to me. This thought process has to be shed. Can